This is Shady Attia, Assistant Professor at Liège University. I'm going to present to you a new topic today related to the researcher digital profile. It's a very important topic. It's related how to create your profile on the internet and make sure that people get access to you. It's a very important topic because today it's very important to access and give access to thousands of people and academics and share your own publications and increase your visibility with others. So it's very important. And it is important for networking and seeking future academic partners and reviewers. It's also important so that you can seek out academics with similar research interest and identify them much easier. And also it's important so that you can get information about new development in your field in real time, spontaneously, directly, once something is published in relation to your work. I'm going to talk to three profiles that I advise you to develop and work on. The first one is the Google profile. Then I will talk about the Scopus ORCID or ORCID profile. And then finally I will talk about LinkedIn. I advise you to go for all three and start directly to create accounts to your work, especially when you are working in the research area. Well, Google Scholar, it's an engine. It is using and listing most research published on internet, and it's very useful to have an account. This is an example. All you need to have a Gmail account. You start to setting up your information. Don't forget to have a representative image for yourself. Don't forget also to use all keywords that you would like to be identified in association in relation to your research area. So first of all, start your Gmail account. Upload your picture, look for the keywords, and even if you don't have publications, just start to do it, and from there on, Google with time will start to list all your publications, make sure how many times they are cited, when they were published, and also it will cite all co-authors who worked with you. And in the same time, it's a very useful tool so that you can look and search for other colleagues and peers in your area. So how to do it? Create a Gmail account, clean up your Google Scholar profile data, make sure that you add your publication to your profile if you have presentation. If you don't have presentation, you have to be patient, but most of you will have at least a master's thesis as a publication or a bachelor's thesis. So list your bachelor thesis, list your master's thesis. This is a start. And work on your first conference or your journal publication. Increase your Googleability. The Googleability meaning that simply somebody is Googling you, he or she can find you. The more you have a kind of easy, if you do this simply this profile or this account, anybody can Google you much easier. It's very frustrating that sometimes we are living in an international community, and anybody who is doing research should think about that. We are working in an international context. Even if you are working in a very remote country or a non-industrial country, it does not mean that you should be joining the international community of researchers. So it's very frustrating that you ask for, if you ask for a scholarship or you go ask for funding or doing an internship abroad, and what do you expect people will do? They will first thing to do, they will start to Google you, and it's very frustrating to not find the person who's applying. So make yourself accessible, create your account with an image so that people, when they start to look you up, they can find you and they can identify your profile. So this is very important. Use your Google Scholar profile data to get ahead. Use your profile data to enhance your CV also. This is very useful, and sometimes you can embed your Google link or the Google profile in your CV, or put just a code, a QR code. So use your profile data in annual reports, grant applications, and other instances where you want to document the impact of your publications. So it's very important to keep this in account, because it's not only about having a profile like that, it also shows how many times you were cited, what kind of indexes and citation indexes you have, what is your impact in the scientific community. So it's very important to keep it into account. And finally, stay up to date when you have been cited. Once you are cited, you will receive an email. You can activate this feature if you are interested. If not, just turn it off. But it's interesting to know when are you cited, who is citing you, and trace back those people. Look and read their publication if possible, to check how or what did they like in your work. And finally, you can stay up to date on your own way with your peers by following what was done by others. So this is simply the Google profile. It's very simple. I invite you to start it, and let's move to the following profile I'm looking that you develop. The second one is the Scopus and ORCID profile. Well, let's talk about Scopus first. What is Scopus? Scopus is a bibliographic database owned by Elsevier, so it's not an open source database, and it is a database for peer-reviewed literature containing abstract and citations for academic journal articles. And it is not only for Elsevier journals, it's also containing citations from other journal or publishers or publishers mainly, but it is developed by Elsevier. So in this sense, you need to have an access to Elsevier account in order to get into Scopus. Now, Scopus offers author profiles, and it's very useful. Many people are using it. It covers affiliations. There's a number of publication and bibliographic data associated with every author is listed. References and details are also listed. The number of citation can be found, and the published document can be also traced. So it is very useful, and you can also receive alerts featuring features and a facility to calculate your author H-index. And well, we will not talk today about the H-index. This will be another future presentation, but at least you will have a Scopus H-index, the same like the Google Scholar index of citation. So this is important to keep into account. Well, the other important and associated account that you should also have or profile is the ORCID. The ORCID is a recent database. It is an open non-profit community-based effort to provide a registry of unique researcher identifiers. So it's very important because it is not like the Scopus, which is a kind of company or private company initiative, even though that is very reputed, the Scopus H-index or the Scopus profile, but ORCID is more a neutral and open community-based identifier. It's a transparent method of linking research activity and outputs to these identifiers. And well, this can be linked to the Scopus ID. So Scopus IDs for individual authors can be integrated with the ORCID. Simply, ORCID is in the future going to be one of the most trusted profiles because it identifies the author by their publication and with a particular ID, and this ID can be communicated once you go publish for whatever kind of publisher or journal you are working on. So keep into account that the ORCID is independent, open source. It can be coupled to Scopus, it can be coupled to other research IDs of Thomson Reuters or Google or even Scopus, but make sure that you have both of them. This is my advice, to have a Scopus and to have an ORCID. Well, the ORCID will protect your unique scholarly identity. Nobody can hack your identity anymore. Even if there is the similar names, this will not happen. If you have a family name or a pre-name that is similar, the first name is similar or the last name is similar. In this sense, if you have an ORCID ID, this is solved, and I advise you to add your ORCID ID on your CV to make sure when you apply for an academic or a research position, you have your own identifier. The ORCID also lasts longer than your email address. Make sure it will be written in the database, because if you are a PhD student, you will keep your ORCID ID, assistant professor, if you get married, professor, whatever, you migrate, you leave a country, you leave a university, you move from an institution to other, your ID, your ORCID ID will be always the same. The problem with the other identification systems related to Scopus or Google Scholar, they are all related to your email address. And once you change your email address, you can have some issues. While the ORCID is more robust because it's not related to your email address, it's related to your ID. So you can change definitely your email, you can change your position, you change even the country, you move on, but always you'll have the same ORCID number, and from there you can be tracing your work, and others can trace your work. And finally, it's an open source, it's an open data system, and it's a community driven. It's not a company, it's not tomorrow going to be فايت or bankrupt in a way or another. So I advise you to go to orcid.org and do an ORCID ID together with the Scopus and together with the Google Scholar ID. Well, this is an example of a Scopus ORCID coupled ID. This is Scopus mainly interface. You can find on the left side the name. Under the name, you'll find the position and the author ID in Scopus. And then the most important one is the ORCID ID. And it's a long ID. It has, I don't know how many digits, but it's a long identifier to make sure that there is no duplication. And from there, you can trace and make sure that the person that you are looking at is the real person. You want to make sure, not taking into account similar publication. I give you an example. In Google Scholar, sometimes the algorithms cannot identify the differences between the same family name but different forenames. So you can find somebody working in the medical field and somebody in the engineering field, and they will list both publications under the same author, while this is an engineer and this is a doctor, and you find under a doctor engineering topics or other way around. In the ORCID identifier, this will not happen because it will trace the names, it will trace the publications, and you can make sure that the listing is updated and is proper. And from there, it is today used and coupled to many engines. The only difference here, why I'm coupling to Scopus, because Scopus is older. ORCID just appeared in the last couple of years, so there was the idea of having a global open source identifier. I think in the future, maybe we will rely most on the ORCID ID, but so for now, I advise you to have both and couple them together to make sure that you have an effective communication. And one of the useful things of having a Scopus account also is to calculate the H-index. They do it for you. You can go to the listing of H-index, and then you can see how many papers were cited, how many times, and make sure that what is missing, what is the impact of your the most influential publication, what kind of publication are not relevant, or were not cited, and then you can assess your overall impact of your work. Well, this is done. I invite you again to have a Scopus and a ORCID ID profile. And finally, I will move now to the third and last part of the presentation for your digital profile, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional network. It's very important to have a LinkedIn profile because it's very helpful. In this sense, it was established in 2003. It's a company, it's a private company, it's business driven. I think it's already in the stock. It has stock in the market. There was two people who wanted to share the professional address book with each other. Already, it's rarely to find people using only business cards. It is actually replacing business cards. You can just identify the person on LinkedIn. He or she will invite you. You accept them. Then you have them in your book. So this old big book of business cards that was with a few previous generations is getting less and less used today. We are using LinkedIn. You can link with people you know, whether this is the first degree, those are people you know, so you consider them as first degree, or you can, in that way, you can also connect to people that you, via people, or let's say, connect to people they know. This is the second degree connection. So if you find a friend or somebody connected to one of your people you know, you can link to them, but this is then the sense of the second degree connections. So in this sense, it's a real professional network and very useful. And it is very important for you to find, connect, and engage with your ideal client, employer, and employees. So it's very important, whether you are working in a professional world or an academic world. Keep in mind that it's almost an online CV that makes you visible for possible employers, and this makes things helpful for recruitment processes. First thing people do, they will Google you again. If you are a research profile, if you have a research profile, they can look at your publications, and if they want to know more about your education, your background, your projects you participated in, your experience, your languages, they will look at your LinkedIn profile. So from here, it's very useful, and it can be useful for yourself as a marketing tool to be setting yourself on the web in an easy way. Well, there are two distinct parts of LinkedIn. The first is the profile. You tell with your profile that you develop, you tell people who you are and what you do professionally. The second part is communication strategy. You can use it yourself to build up your own communication strategy. You can share with people your updates. You can share with people your publications, your announcement, your new positions, your project you were working on. You can connect with peers. So actually there is two main distinctive uses of LinkedIn. From one side, you can use it as a profile for yourself so that people can find you, fetch you, and get information about you. And on the other side, you can interact and engage with the community or with the network you are going to build through LinkedIn to share with others information about yourself and what you are working on and what you are doing. Well, the role of LinkedIn and your profile is, number one, is to increase your visibility. Show your strengths and focus area, very important, because at the end of the day, if you are not having your own company or your own business and you are looking for working for someone or for an institution or for a company or for a group of people, at the end of the day, you need to show directly to the people what is your strengths, what can you bring to them, what is the strengths area, and LinkedIn can help you in doing that. You can also provide credibility and value to yourself, consistency. You can look and allow people to look at your profile and find where you were educated, what kind of certificates you have, what kind of professional certifications you have, what kind of project you worked on. And this is very helpful to increase your credibility and value, and it helps you also to connect to people with common interest. And this is very important if you are looking to have a community with similar interests. And for sure, LinkedIn allows creating of groups, and it can have secret settings, closed settings, open settings. It depends what kind of groups that would like to be opened, respecting the policy of LinkedIn. Well, important thing related to credibility. First of all, your image. Take it serious. The image is very important in this sense. You need in this sense a head and shoulder shot. Very important to have it. I would advise you to wear a dress or a clothes or a suit or something clothing that you use in a business meeting normally. So please avoid t-shirts, avoid informal or informal clothes. You should be really in a business meeting setting. Keep it professional. This picture should not be a Facebook picture or something. It's a professional picture. Make sure you have a proper background. You have sufficient lighting on your face. You should be appealing, smiling to people. And this shot also should be updated every 5 years to make sure that there is a kind of credibility. It doesn't make sense to keep your pictures when you were 22 years old and you are now something like 60. This doesn't make you credible. Try to update your pictures every 5 years, maximum every 10 years, to make sure that the picture matches your profile. It's not logic at all to use a old pictures or a non-updated picture of you. So again, first thing, credibility. ABC credibility in LinkedIn is to have an image or a photo of yourself. Go to a photograph or a photo session and make sure that you have the good image. And it is really not acceptable to have a LinkedIn account without a photo. So please start with that. Well, this is an example of a photo. It looks very simple. You take a picture, you put it, it will be associated with your name. This will be the area where the photo is. Then you will have the headline, or what we call the punchline, and then you will have a summary. Those are the three main components when somebody is investigating your profile on LinkedIn: the photo, the headline, summary, and definitely your name. Well, let's go to the next item after discussing the photo. The following item is the headline. Let's call it the punchline. The punchline is very important because it's a powerful tool and is the first thing people will see. Keep it in mind. This is the label you'd like people to see, and this is the 7-second rule. People decide in 7 seconds if they will explore further or not. Based on this punchline, they will go further with your profile. If not, they will just skip it. So it's very important. It should tell people what you could do for them, what is your value, what is your strengths, what you can bring, very important, and take 1 or 2 weeks to get it right. Take time, very important. These are examples of punchlines or headlines. As you can see, they're always associated with your name. And don't forget, take your time to development and cross the message that you would like to do. To cross, especially if you are looking for a job or if you are looking if you're providing a service or you are having a kind of added value in the professional context. So directly work on that. Well, after that you have to work on your summary. The summary should expand on your headline. So once I saw the picture, the name and the headline, this person is interesting to me to follow, I will look at the summary. It should be expanded of your headline. Tell them what you have to offer in the summary. You should have a description of your profile strengths, what you can do, your skills, your competencies, what you are good at, and maybe your vision. If you have a specific vision, you're dreaming to do that, you're looking for doing that. And it's very similar to what we do in CVs when we include stars. When I mean star, I mean simply highlights of you. A situation, a task, an action, or a result. Whatever any of those, this is a star. So you should, in your summary, include at least 1 or 2 stars, identifying a major contribution you did in your professional or in your academic work. So simply just develop a summary by describing yourself, your strengths, setting a vision, but also include major tangible achievement you did, so that somebody who read your headline or your punchline can go in the summary, get impressed by what you have achieved, and make sure that he or she found a matching interest regarding your work. Use always action verbs, and I advise you to use the following verbs here. These are action verbs from the Harvard Law School. There is a list of them. You can Google them and you find a lot of action verbs. I advise you to use them in your summary so that you are sure that you have active, dynamic representation summarizing your potential and your profile. Well, then you have to look at completing your profile, reference the official company logo or organization you're working at. Even if you are not working now, references the organization you worked at before, or even you are in a school or a university, add the logos of this institution. It makes your profile on LinkedIn very much easier and accessible visually. List 3 or more positions you have held with description of your roles, and describe exactly what you did, and don't exaggerate. Just say what you did in a decent way and in an honest way. You must have 7 or more skills on your profile. You will find also in the LinkedIn profile skills that you can fill up. At least add 7 skills you are mastering, and get connected. Start to get connected. Look at people who have an account already. LinkedIn will suggest people based on the institution or the companies you worked at, and from there you can fill up your profile. You don't need to come to have an expert profile from first day. You can build it over a long period, even on a year basis, but at least start with your image, your punchline, your summary, mention some skills you have, at least 3 positions you had, and get connected to at least 50%, okay? Now, on the long term, in order to increase your profile and make it more complete, look at third-party referrals, because you will need always recommendations and endorsement. They are very useful. They make your work or make your profile more credible. And in this sense, you can go for active referral strategies. You can ask people you worked with to provide you with recommendations. For instance, you can ask your supervisor in your company or of your previous company to write something about what you did. If you had an internship in an institution, you can ask people to write an internship, a kind of description of your qualities. What did you do? What you were good at? Very useful. And this is an example of skills of an endorsement. You can find this is a group of skills directly associated with other least effective skills, and people will even actually, your connection will start to confirm or endorse these skills, and over time you can build up your endorsements and recommendations. So it's a very important step to increase your credibility in LinkedIn. Then how to look credible, that's another important point. Start to find and get found and connect. This is the second part of the LinkedIn that you should work on. You have to look at finding people. Searching people on LinkedIn is very important. You have inside LinkedIn, you will be able to search mainly for first and second names, and mainly I am using personally LinkedIn instead of collecting all these business cards. Once I'm looking for somebody, normally I remember the first name or the family name. If I don't remember, I never forget the company where they work for. So I would mention the company name, and directly LinkedIn will list the people that I have a shared connection with. So this is a very useful strategy. You can also search by name or by keywords. So sometimes if you know somebody was talking in a certain area about a topic, you forgot his name or her name and you forgot the company name, but you know that they're working on a specific topic on monitoring tools. You can just type monitoring tools and directly LinkedIn, you will find the people popping up who associated themselves in their profile with these keywords. So it's very useful, and you can directly have your own network and your database on spot, hands-on, without very efficiently time-wise. Then you need to be easily get found. Your headline should be including the main keywords related to your specialization. Just think about what words you would type in Google search when you would like to find a person with your qualities. So imagine yourself what kind of qualities and keywords you would like to be associated with. Work on them. Once you identify them, 6 to 10 words maximum, set them in your skills in LinkedIn, and directly others can find you based on these keywords. So do the same for yourself to make sure that you can be foundable. In your summary, use additional keywords that you want to be associated with. So you can have priority keywords in the headline, and then you can have less priority or second important priority keywords in the summary. Well, connecting. Now you're ready to connect. Start to connect. It is highly recommended to send a personal message. If you would like to connect to someone, I advise you that you know this person. Unless you don't know the person, you are just not doing a connection for a connection. The only reason to connect with somebody you don't know is that you have an inquiry or a question for him or for her. So I advise you to connect with people you met in a networking event, in a conference, in a gala dinner, whatever event that made you, even if you had a basic conversation, you can directly ask those people for connections. But people that you know but they don't know you, I advise you to only ask them for a connection if you are sure that you have something to ask them or to provide them, or that maybe you will meet them in the future. So be a bit modest in this sense. Well, you can also ask your common connection to introduce you to the person. So if you have a second degree person you are interested to get in a connection with, you can ask one of your first degree network members to connect you to the second degree, and it depends if the person is interested to accept the invitation. To make it easy for people to contact you, you can put your email. I advise you to put your email so that you are accessible. Today, honestly, in my work, I fetch people from LinkedIn. I go type in their name, I look at their emails, and I can find them much, much easier. Because people change their jobs very frequently. And I know many people in my work area that they changed job in the last 15 years. They changed at least 2 times their jobs. Every time you use the professional job email account, I cannot find them, and I get these bouncing back emails telling that this email is not working anymore. In this sense, this is another benefit of LinkedIn. Connect your LinkedIn account to a permanent email account connected to something not related to your work. I advise to do that so that you could be foundable even if you leave your work, the company where you are working in. So it's very important and it's very useful, and make it easy that people can find your email and contact you anytime. Well, the last part of the LinkedIn presentation is giving value, and this is a very important part. This is when you are starting to be active, engaging. It is related to using LinkedIn as a blog, starting to share your posts. And do you know that you can add photographs, you can add videos? This provides an additional insight into your current role and past experiences. And I advise you to start using LinkedIn in this sense, especially when you are interested to write or share things with people in a professional context. So you can write your blog on LinkedIn, and it gives you a value because you will be found. You will find people liking or followers for you. You can write about your topic interested in, related for sure, professional topics related to your profession. You can talk about the trends in your fields, the new regulations that are coming out. When you attend meetings or conferences, you can provide a glimpse on what's happening, share questions, and so on. Respect your organizational privacy. This is very important. It's unbelievable that you are in a meeting in your company signing a contract, and once the contract is signed, you start to reveal information. Make sure that the privacy rules of your company are respected. So LinkedIn, you cannot share everything related to your work. Make sure that you are always having the approval of your supervisor, and this approval needs to be written. So if you are, for example, if the company is having a new acquisition or a new project, or you signed a new project, or even if you won a competition, or even if you are in a negotiation process for for buying or selling any of your shares, this is highly confidential. Don't share this information. Don't put it on LinkedIn. So as much I'm telling you to share in this side, and in the same time I am warning you to not share any information, confidential information, that should not be shared on such a network. I know people, they shared sensitive information on LinkedIn. On the second day they were fired. So it's very serious. Share only information that is available or reflections that you have, and make sure that when it comes to the company you're working in or the place you are working, you are not violating any privacy conditions, so that you are not risking having problems. Well, share others' posts and like them, and also share them. You can spread them. If you find other important things, you can do that and start doing it, because you can also support your colleagues by doing that. If there is an announcement for a new position and you find it useful, or it's in the area, even though you have a job, you can share it. Maybe other people from your network will benefit from it. So these are kind of logical, good practices. Just work on them. Don't hesitate to like something you really find useful. It's not just liking for liking. And in this sense, you can be interactive, you can be engaging, you can give value to the community and make people follow you, and you can have a presence even in a virtual context. Well, last remark before ending up: LinkedIn is not Facebook. Please keep it professional. Don't post anything related to religion or politics or gender and so on. This is a professional network. You are here to post useful information for professionals and peers on the same level of you, or younger or older. So keep it professional. Any opinion, if you don't like something personal, go to Facebook. If you would like to have you're sharing your own picture, you can do it on Instagram, but keep it very professional with LinkedIn. Revise your post, make sure you have right spelling, the message that you are communicating. This is a very serious community, a very professional community, and keep it very professional. Keep in mind that once you post anything that is not professional, people will start already to disconnect you out of their group network, and it's happening. So keep it professional. Don't just reshare and repost things political or whatever conditions. Make sure that you are also, this is not also the place to share quizzes or games or whatever entertaining issue. It's a really professional group, and really your credibility here will be under investigation once you start to use it as a personal Facebook account. So this is my final advice. I thank you for your attention. By that, I finished the LinkedIn. I invite you all to start directly to create your Google Scholar profile, your Scopus profile, your ORCID ID identifier, and your email, and go also create your LinkedIn. Even if you don't have sufficient material, go get a good picture, start filling up your headline, your summary, and start adding people in order to be Google available, searchable, accessible, visible, and people can get access to your information, increase your network, and get the maximum benefit of your presence in this time. Thank you very much for your attention. In this sense, I would like to ask you to subscribe for the channel and watch the other videos, and thank you very much.